Hello and welcome back to Get Acclimated, part of the Altitude Sickness podcast. I am Tony, and today is episode 2 of this sub-series. And so today we will be talking about Michael Lorenzen, the free agent signing that the Rockies made earlier in January. And we're gonna just go over things that I find interesting about him and things that to look forward to and see what he brings to the table for the Rockies in 2026. And so to start, Rockies signed him on a 1-year deal worth $8 million with a club option in 2027 for $9 million. So I think that this is a pretty decent signing in terms of the money. I don't think that the Rockies overpaid in any way. This is their first deal for a pitcher over like $5 million since like 2015, and so it's a big commitment for the Rockies in terms of a free agent, because they've not really gone after a lot of free agent, especially bigger name free agent pitchers. And so this is a good sign that this front office wants to go out and get those guys. And so to start off, we'll go over his 2025 season. So his 2025 stats. So he led the Royals. I guess he didn't lead the Royals, but he was on the Royals team, and he went 7-11 with a 4.64 ERA in 141 2/3 innings. So that already, the innings total that he had would have been the second most on the Rockies, only behind Kyle Freeland. The Rockies were very injured last year, but also there was just very little good performance, and so some guys just didn't get the full opportunity to be in the rotation the whole time because the lack of performance. So Michael Lorenzen will bring that to the table. He also had a 4.59 FIP, which is solid. So overall, with a 21% strikeout rate, which was in the 37th percentile, but then a 6.4% walk rate, which was in the 76th percentile, which was good. And then he also had a 62.7% first pitch strike rate, which is the tiniest bit lower than the league average. It's about league average. But then he did have a 1.59 home run per 9 rate. So this was one of the worst years in Michael Lorenzen's career. He wasn't that stable, wasn't that reliable this year for the Royals. He pretty much was that guy that's going to go out every 5th day and get you some innings, and that's pretty much what he did as like a 4 or 5. And so for the Rockies, he's going to be slated in as the second starter, and so that's just what they're going to look for with him, is that they need him to be someone that'll just be able to eat some innings. And so to go over his arsenal, he's got a four-seam fastball, a sinker, a changeup, a slider, a curveball, a cutter, and a sweeper. And so that's big because he's got, seven? That's 7 different pitches. And I think, again, what this front office has been doing is they're looking for pitchers that have a lot of pitches so we can test them out and see how they look long-term at altitude. And I think that that's a great thing for the front office to do. It shows that they have a good plan. And so hopefully with all those pitches that Michael Lorenzen has, we'll be able to see some data, get some data back and see how that really plays into what the Rockies can do in further years to find people that they want to both draft and develop, but also sign as free agents. So that's big. And so the standout stats that I find that interesting. So first off, his changeup. So his changeup was, I think, arguably his best pitch last year. Is pretty solid. It averaged about 83.7 miles an hour. And so that's a solid enough changeup. It gives it distinguishes from his fastball enough to where I think that that's going to be a solid secondary pitch. It had a 178 batting average with a 297 slug. So that's pretty good. Low batting average, obviously you want. Low slug is what you want. Also had a 42.4% whiff rate with a 30.4% strikeout rate. So this was his strikeout pitch. This was a big whiffing strikeout pitch for Lorenzen, and I think that that's good because I think the changeup gets. I'm pretty sure that the changeup gets least affected by altitude, by being at high altitude, and so I think that that'll be great. That'll be a great thing to have as his secondary off of his fastball, and so hopefully he'll be able to use that and continue to make it that weapon that he has. So I think that that'll be great because it feels like a lot of the Rockies don't have a lot of changeups. And I would like to see the changeup become more of a stable, like a staple, not stable, but a staple of Rockies pitchers in the future. And then his second pitch, his slider, not quite as good. Got 85.1, so it's kind of a harder slider, which is fine. As long as it's that distinguishment from that fastball. Had a 208 batting average, so pretty solid. A 429 slug, so it did get hit around a decent amount. Only a 26% whiff rate and a 23.8% K rate. So this was not a strikeout pitch necessarily for him. This seems to be one that he would go to as a working off the fastball, but more of a get strikes that might be led to get slugged a little bit, because it seems to be that 429 slugging percentage seems to me that he's trying to throw that slider for strikes as opposed to trying to get the whiffs off of it like the changeup. And so I think that that's good. It'll work. I think with a little bit of tweaking, hopefully we can make it to where it'll move a little more or do whatever it needs to do to be successful at Coors Field. And then his third thing I want to talk about is his hard hit percentage. So pretty much just his hard hit percentage was 39.2%, which was 61st, which was in the 61st percentile of major league pitchers last year. So that's above average. It's pretty solid. I mean, you want to not have hard hits against you, so I think that that's just good to have for Lorenzen, and so I think that that's a great thing. So looking at his home road splits, so this is something that I think are kind of important looking at with anyone, but pitchers especially. The home road splits for last year were, so at home, which is at Kauffman Stadium, which I am pretty sure is a little bit hitter friendly simply because for doubles and triples, home runs, it's a little harder to hit them, but now they're moving in those walls, so I guess we'll see this year how much that changes it. But his home stats were he had a 3.52 ERA at home in 64 innings with a 1.234 whip with a 727 OPS. So he was pretty effective at home, actually. Like having about a 3.5 ERA is pretty good at home. And so like that's pretty nice. His problem came actually on the road, where on the road he pitched to a 5.56 ERA in 72 and 2/3 innings with a 1.403 whip and an 841 OPS against him. And so his problem seemed to just be pitching elsewhere, and then he did have more innings elsewhere as well. So maybe he benefited a little bit from the lack of home runs, because he did allow a decent amount of home runs last year. Because like I talked about his home run per 9 rate being 1.59, he did allow a little bit of home run. And so maybe he just benefited from Kauffman not giving up as many home runs a little bit. And so hopefully he can keep those down, keep fly balls out of the air, because that's where it gets pretty scary as a Rockies pitcher, are those fly balls. And I looked at his Coors numbers, because obviously him pitching at Coors half the time this year, I'd like to see where those are going to be looking. And he only pitched 12 and 2/3 innings at Coors in his career, but he has a 9.24 ERA with a 4.54 FIP and allowing a 902 OPS against him. And again, this is against the Rockies lineups, which as of recently for most of his career have not been the old Rockies lineups. So, and he only has a 16.1% strikeout rate with a 5.5 or a 5.4 walk rate. So he still keeps those walks down at Coors. He does have a little bit and a little lower strikeout rate, but that's going to happen at Coors. You're not going to get as many strikeouts at Coors Field just because of the elevation. It's not going to let your pitches move as much, so you're not going to get as many whiffs. But that 9.24 ERA is kind of scary just because, and the 4 point, but that's the thing though, is that the 4.54 FIP, that's, I mean, similar to what he did this year, where this year he ended with a 4.64 ERA. So this could very much just be I think a lot of it just had to do with he was not able to stop those singles from dropping, or those doubles and triples. Like he's limiting his home runs to about his normal. But then the OPS just jumps up because of doubles and triples, probably just, which may be outs in other places because the outfield would be smaller. So who knows? Hopefully he'll be able to figure something out good and get through that this year. And hopefully with the new Rockies pitching staff, they can help him figure something out. So his 2026 projection, I'm not really going to get into his win-loss for projection because I don't really think that matters as much. They're projecting him at, according to Fangraphs, at a 5.26 ERA and 149 innings pitched with a 4.59 FIP. So that's about similar, very similar to his FIP from last year. I mean, it's the same exact FIP from last year, actually. A little, and like 8 more innings, which that's not really that big of a deal. But his ERA going up a little bit. Again, I do think that just comes with the fact that he's going to now be dealing with more singles, doubles, and triples falling in. He might be able to limit home runs, which hopefully he will be able to. But he's just going to have more runs being scored in general because of the element that he'll be playing at. So, but that's going to be how it is. Other notes that I have on him, he's similar. His stats are very similar versus both lefties and righties. He's not a lefty killer, but he's also not a righty dominator. So he seems to be pretty pretty consistent. That's the word, against both-handed pitching, or both-handed hitting, I mean. And so I think that's fine. I think with a starting pitcher, you need to be good against both. I think obviously. So I don't think there will be much of that. Oh, they're going to bring out all the lefties because they hit harder. So I think there's going to be a good balance from other teams' perspectives against Lorenzen pitching for the Rockies. And then also in an interview, he said that he wants the challenge of pitching at Coors Field, which always love to hear that from, especially a free agent. Like, it's one thing if they're already here, but from a free agent wanting to come here and do this, I think that's great. And I think he'll be a fan favorite for the Rockies because he seems to just be a good all-around guy. And so I'm excited to watch him pitch. And then, so overall things, I think he's overall a solid starter. I do think this was a great signing from the Rockies just because they will need some veteran innings in that rotation, because he's going to be anchored up there at the top. He's probably going to be, again, the number 2 starter, with Freeland being number 1, him 2, and then a mix of Dollander, Gordon, and Feltner maybe. And so he's still got some young guys. Feltner's kind of getting up there in years, but I mean, Gordon and Dollander especially, hopefully this signing will help Lorenzen see that he will be that mentor for people like Dollander. And so I think that's going to be a great thing, and hopefully they'll be able to he'll be able to lead him to maybe see if he wants to add another pitch or tweak Dollander's pitches, see if they might work better or worse on the road, because Dollander struggled mightily at Coors Field last year, but he was pretty good on the road. Actually, pretty similar to what Michael Lorenzen has done at his home ballpark this year. He had about a 3.52 ERA. So hopefully that will lead to good things. And then, like I said, he will just be required to eat innings. He's going to be being that number 2 starter. He's going to be, I guess, more listed as to pitch well and be better than just an inning eater. But at the same time, at this point, with how injured the Rockies' rotation was last year, I do think that they just need all of their starting pitchers to stay healthy and pitch well enough to get those innings done. Because the Rockies still struggle to have pitching depth at the major league level. And so we will see how that goes with Lorenzen. And so But overall, again, I think this was a very good signing by the Rockies. I'm pretty happy with it, and so I don't really have much bad to say about him. I think he's going to be cool. I think he'll be a good signing. And so, but other than that, that's it for this episode. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you later. All right, bye.